Hello, my name is Angelina Adames, a student of modern languages at the Pan American University of Puerto. And today I would like to share you a bit about syntactic analysis in linguistics. The syntactic analysis in linguistics involves the study of sentence structure and the organization of words and phrases into meaningful units. Now, let's dive into the first part of a speech word classes. Firstly, we have the nouns. The nouns are words that denote entities, for instance, cat or table. Then we have verbs. Verbs are words that express actions or states, for instance, run or think. We also have adjectives. The adjectives are words that modify nouns, for example, red or big. Adverbs. The adverbs are words that modify verbs, adjectives, or other adverbs. For example, quickly or very. Pronouns. These words can substitute nouns. For instance, he, it, she, we. Prepositions. The prepositions are words that establish relationship between other words. For instance, in, on, at, and we have conjunctions. These words connect clauses or sentences. For instance, and, but. And lastly, we have determiners. This word can introduce nouns and specify them. For instance, the, this, those, these. It's crucial to know about phrasal categories, so let's dive into them. Number one, we have noun phrases. These phrases center it around a noun. For example, the big cat. Number two, verb phrases. Phrases centered around a verb. For instance, run quickly. Number three, adjective phrases. Phrases centered around an adjective. For instance, very tall. Four, adverb phrases. These phrases centered around an adverb. For instance, quite slowly. Prepositional phrases. Phrases introduced by a preposition. For instance, in the park. And lastly, the clause. A syntactic structure containing a subject and a predicate. For instance, she runs every morning. Lastly but not least, we have clauses analysis. A clause is a group of words that contain at least a subject or and a predicate, which typically includes a verb. Clauses are the building blocks of sentences and can function as a sentence on their own or as a part of a larger sentence. The number one, independent clauses. An independent clause is a complete sentence that can stand alone as a sentence. It contains a subject and a predicate. Some examples. The dog barked and she enjoys reading books. In this example, the dog barked and she enjoys reading books are independent clauses. They have but a subject, the dog and she, and a predicate, bark and enjoy reading a book, and can be a complete thoughts. Number two, dependent clauses. A dependent clause or subordinate clause cannot stand alone as a sentence because it doesn't express a complete thought. It also contains a subject and a predicate, but it relies on an independent clause to give it meaning. Types of dependent clauses. Number one, adjective clauses. It modify a noun or pronoun. They often begin with relative pronouns like who, whom, which, that. For instance, the book that you gave me was fascinating. Adverbial clauses. It modifies the verb, adjective, or another adverb. They often begin with a subordinate conjunction like because, although, if, when. For instance, I will call you when I arrive. And the number three, noun clauses. It functions as a noun within a sentence. They often begin with that, what, whatever, who, whom. For instance, I know that she's coming. Now we have the number three, complex and compound complex sentences. A complex sentence contains one independent clause and at least one dependent clause. For instance, although it was raining, we decided to go for a walk. Although it was raining is a dependent clause, and we decided to go for a walk is a dependent clause. And compound complex sentence. It contains at least two independent clauses and at least one dependent clause. For instance, I finished my homework, but the dog ate it before I could turn it. I finished my homework and the dog ate it are independent clauses. Before I could turn it is a dependent clause. Now, I would like to share with you an example breakdown. Let's analyze this sentence. When the bell rang, the students quickly gathered their belongings and left the classroom. When the bell rang is a dependent clause, a verb clause, that cannot stand alone. It provides information about when the students gathered their belongings. And the students quickly gathered their belongings and left the classroom is an independent clause. It can stand alone as a sentence and provides complete thought. In this sentence, the dependent clause modifies the verb gathered by indicating the time the action took place. In conclusion, understanding clauses and their roles in sentence structure is essential for syntactic analysis. Independent clauses provide the backbone of sentence, while dependent clauses add additional detail and complexity. By analyzing clauses, we can better understand how sentences are constructed and how meaning is conveyed in English. And that is all. I hope you like this presentation and thank you so much for listening.